As promised, this is the second part, the follow-up to my original fraud video, the day in my life as a fraud investigator, what it is that I do. I kind of explained in my original video how to get started in this industry, what I did to kind of get hired on, and I also gave a couple of tips as far as things that I would recommend you to do if you were also interested in becoming a fraud investigator. So I thought that the best thing to do now is explain to you what does a typical day in the life of a fraud investigator look like. So what does fraud look like, right? For me, I do banking fraud, so money. We're dealing with fraudulent checks, we're dealing with scams, we're dealing with fraud rings, we're dealing with, unauthorized monetary activity, anything and everything that you can think of when it comes to a bank can be fraud. Loans, Zells, somebody stole my debit card and went on a shopping spree. All of that is considered fraud, but there are specific types of fraud that each category would fall into. So each financial institute has things their own way. They run, their own procedures and protocols. They will, investigate fraud differently. At my previous position and at this one, I would say that it's pretty much on par. Things get investigated fairly similarly. And I think that the knowledge that I brought from my previous role into this current role that I have is pretty helpful. I think it makes my job so much easier because I have the experience already. So I kind of just dove in, and like humble brag, but I'm really good. I'm not somebody who's super experienced by any means, and yet I've been asked to help others. So it just kind of goes to show, each investigator will do things differently. So, if you see things and it looks a certain way to you, and maybe I look at it and it looks a different way to me, it doesn't mean that you are wrong or I'm wrong. It just means that there's different ways that fraud can be investigated. And that's kind of the really cool part about it, is that each fraud investigator will kind of have their own way of investigating. So I have a little cheat sheet that I'm going to go ahead and read off of. It helps me to kind of stay on track because I tend to ramble a lot. So I don't want to do that today. I want to just kind of get into it. And if you're interested in getting into this field, specifically in finance, banking, you're looking to get into fraud investigator when it comes to like money, this could be very helpful to see if it's something that interests you, if you think it sounds like something you would want to do, or maybe not so much, things to consider. So I hope it's helpful for you, but I'll go ahead and get started and let you guys know kind of the day-to-day fraud types that you will come across and kind of how you think about things. So I'll kind of start from the most least obtrusive types of fraud to the most maybe like, regular frauds that you'll see, things that you may come across more often. We have what's called ATO or PTO or TOA even. It's different forms of a similar type of fraud, but there's like little variances in each. So when somebody tries to gain access to your account, we consider that a takeover attempt. So someone is trying to get into your account, but they didn't do anything. They didn't move any money. They didn't, successfully get in. So maybe there was like a failed attempt that you could see, sometimes your bank will let you know that there was a login attempt from a totally different state, for example, and that wasn't you. So that would be like an attempt. Someone tried, but they didn't successfully get in. moving along from an attempt is a profile takeover. So somebody actually gains access to your account. However, maybe there wasn't like any money movement. So for example, I, successfully got into your account, and maybe like, maybe like I changed something. Perhaps I could have, changed like the email address or the phone number on file, but I wasn't able to actually do anything monetarily speaking. So I got in, maybe I messed around a little bit, but I didn't actually, do anything as far as money movement. So that's like the next level. Then you have account takeover, which is a complete takeover of the account. So I'm a third party. You don't know me. You never gave me access, or and I got a hold of your account. I got in, I made transactions that obviously you did not approve, basically account takeover is just somebody completely taking over the account. So somebody with the intention of benefiting from your money that you absolutely did not authorize in any way, shape, or form. And, your account is completely like taken over by that person. So it's not like you shared your credentials with anybody. It's like a totally random third-party person just comes in and gets into your account. So that's kind of like your 3 layers of your account, if you will. It kind of starts there. So you can kind of see how things kind of get progressively worse, right? I hate to say it, but you get a lot of fraud. You were going to see so much fraud in this field. There's third-party fraud, which is like another individual. There's first-party fraud, which is like I deposit checks that are bad, and then I had bad intentions with those checks, Maybe I knew, maybe I didn't know, I don't know. There's just all kinds of layers of fraud. But we do also get identity theft. So we get true ID theft, and then we get something called synthetic ID. So the difference between somebody opening an account and its identity theft is the PII, which stands for personal identifiable information. So if I open an account at X bank and I got a hold of Lisa Smith's information, I have her name, I have her address, her date of birth, her social, I have pretty much, this looks like it is Lisa Smith's account, but Lisa Smith has never banked with Bank X. She doesn't have an account with them. So that is true ID theft, because it's their actual identification being used to open an account fraudulently. On the other hand, we have one where it's synthetic. So that could potentially involve partially true information and maybe like a mixture of other information. And you can kind of tell because we have access to systems like Equifax, LexisNexis, which is amazing. I personally love it. I used it at my previous location. And you just pop in the information there and it'll tell you, is this social linked to this person? Is this phone number linked to this person? Is this email linked to this person? Where has this person lived? Even like criminal history, so you get like a really good snapshot of this person, and you can kind of start putting the picture together really easily with that. So I love that tool. Personally, I use it. And I think for these types of positions and a career in fraud, it's absolutely necessary. You can get so far with those types of tools. So synthetic ID. I open an account under Lisa Smith's name at Bank X, and I use her date of birth, and I use her social, but her phone number is not linked to her. And maybe her address has something to do with her. She's never lived in South Dakota, but I put that she lives in South Dakota. So synthetic